Hello, dear friends. Today is November 8th, 2025, and we present another detailed overview of the battle map. Significant changes have been recorded on several axes at once: the Pocrovsk, Kupansk, Lipy, Kostiantynivka, Siversk, Veliki Burlook sectors, and in the Vauvchansk area. In addition, new data are coming in from other parts of the front, which we will examine in detail in this episode. And before we begin, I'd like to thank everyone who supports the channel, as always. Your subscription helps us grow and prepare fresh reports for you every day. Now let's move on to the situation on the Kursen axis. 2 strikes were recorded here today, near the settlements of Ponyativka and Antonivka. A reminder, these are airstrikes by Russian aviation on Ukrainian positions. Attacks were also noted near Dinropetk and Sadove, where FPV drones are actively used. The Ukrainian side reports that around the Dacha area and Dinropetk they repelled 2 attacks by Russian units in each location. At the same time, Russian positions came under fire near Oleshki. Some call this locality Oleshki, but on the map it is marked as Alyoshki. Strikes on Russian positions were also recorded at Plavny and Hola Pristan. Overall, along the line of contact on this section, FPV drones from both sides operate around the clock, as does artillery. Russian fire targeting Ukrainian positions, and Ukrainian fire targeting Russian positions. Now we move to the Oric axis. There is a particularly large volume of news from there. No major map changes have been noted today. Everything you see highlighted in red reflects yesterday's advances. Today, strikes were carried out on Ukrainian positions and temporary deployment points in the areas of Malokaterenivka and Lukyanetske. Sites in Primorske, Stepnohirsk, and Pavlivka also came under attack. As for strikes on Russian positions, shelling was recorded against temporary deployment points in the southern part of Kamyanske, as well as on the northern outskirts and in the Plavny area. Heavy fighting continues in the southern part of Stepnohirsk. Russian forces are trying to push deeper into the settlement, but the dense use of FPV drones by the Ukrainian armed forces is making the assault much more difficult. No significant territorial changes have been recorded so far. However, there are reports that Russian units are gradually expanding their zone of control to the north of Stepny, Mali Shabaki and Shabaki. Most likely, this is not the direct capture of territory, but an enlargement of the grey zone. That is, the gradual pushing back of Ukrainian forces from the line of contact. There is no confirmed cartographic evidence yet, but the trend appears to favor the Russian side. Now to the area of Mala Tokmachka. In the central part of this settlement, heavy urban combat continues. Neither side has recorded advances here. Russian troops entrenched in the center are holding their positions and successfully repelling attempts by the Ukrainian armed forces to retake control. Several Ukrainian assault sorties ended without result. FPV drones operated by Russian crews from the Novopokrovka side are actively destroying enemy groups attempting to break through to the fortifications. Strikes were also noted on Ukrainian positions north of Novodanilivka and in the southern part of Oric. The overall front line on this sector remains stable. Now to the Lipy axis. Here we have both news and specific changes. Russian forces continue to expand their zone of control west of Malinivka. Reports are coming in of strikes on Ukrainian positions near the settlements of Veseliye, Vesele, Zeleny High, and Vysoke. There are no video confirmations yet, so no changes have been reflected on the map. Once evidence arrives, the situation will be updated. In addition, strikes were carried out on Ukrainian positions near the settlements of Nova, Novouspannivska, and Sladka. The most significant developments are in Uspanivka. Yesterday morning brought the first reports of Russian advances, and by evening, video confirmations from the settlement itself were published. By that time, Uspanivka had completely come under Russian armed forces' control. The advance amounted to up to 2 kilometers. All the territory previously marked in red has been cleared and secured by Russian units. This settlement was considered a key Ukrainian fortified area on this axis. Its capture freed up substantial forces that can now push further toward Nova, Novouspannivska, Veseliye, Zeleny High, and Vysoke. It is expected that in the coming weeks a new phase of active Russian advancement will begin here. Now to the Dnipropetrovsk axis. From this sector, we mainly have reports of artillery and missile strikes. Russian forces struck Ukrainian positions near Nechayivka, Danilivka, Oleksandrivka, and Pokrovsk, as well as positions in Toka and Orestopol. Strikes on Russian positions hit the Oleksandrivka and Vishneve areas. Some sources report that Russian units are expanding their zone of control north of Novo-Oleksandrivka and Alexeyevka. However, there are no reliable confirmations yet. If the information is confirmed, the map will be updated. At the moment, the front line shows no major shifts. We proceed to the Pocrovsk axis. A series of reports has arrived from the areas of Novopavlivka, Filia, and Ivanivka. Let's start with Ivanivka. Russian units are expanding their zone of control to the north of this settlement, advancing along the shelter belts. Yesterday, video footage from this area appeared, confirming that the territory marked in red has completely come under Russian control. There have been no new confirmations today, but the trend continues. In the Filia area, there are also reports of Russian movement to the north, but no evidence has yet been received. As for Novopavlivka, several sources indicate that Russian units are conducting assault operations on the outskirts. The Ukrainian side acknowledges the presence of enemy reconnaissance and sabotage groups in the southern part of the settlement, stating that they are being eliminated but does not officially confirm an ongoing assault. Thus, the active phase of fighting continues and the situation remains tense. Now to the main events, the Pocrovsk axis, where the most serious changes are taking place. North of Mirnohrad, Russian advances have been noted, and from Pocrovsk itself, there are reports of clearing operations. Fighting is ongoing in the central part of the city and around Schmitter Street. Russian units are carefully combing through blocks, moving floor by floor, inspecting basements where small scattered groups of Ukrainian servicemen remain. Some pro-Russian sources are already coloring the whole of Pokrovsk on the map in the color of Russian forces. However, in reality, there are still pockets of resistance in the city. In addition, former Ukrainian positions are mined, so demining and clearing are underway. Only after this can full control be officially announced. The Russian Ministry of Defense is expected to issue a statement in the near future, after confirmation that the remaining areas have been cleared. A reminder, yesterday, video footage from several points was published, and all the territory marked in red passed under Russian control. Today, there are reports of assault operations near the settlement of Rovna. The supply route has been completely cut, and Mirnohrad, previously under fire control, now, according to incoming data, is also under the physical control of Russian forces. The fighting continues, Russian advances are gradually being consolidated, and it seems that in the near future, the situation on the Pokrovsk axis will be finally resolved in favor of the Russian army. There is confirmed progress of Russian forces in the southern part of Mirnohrad. From this location, a video has been obtained confirming the presence of Russian forward units. The advance on this section amounts to approximately 400 meters. Yesterday, reports already mentioned a possible movement of Russian troops, but at that time it was unclear exactly where it was taking place. Now, after the appearance of visual confirmation, it has become clear that the movement refers specifically to this area. If Russian forces reach the industrial facilities located here, the entire southern part of Mirnohrad will effectively be cut off, and the Ukrainian units still holding out will find themselves encircled. In fact, these Ukrainian troops are already without proper supplies and partially surrounded, but a complete closure of the pocket would turn an already dire situation into a catastrophic one. Now to the northern part of Mirnohrad. Earlier, we mentioned that Russian airborne units had landed in the northern sector of the city, but it was unclear whether they managed to hold their positions. Now, new video footage from this area shows the former Russian forward positions, which came under Ukrainian attack. According to the latest data, Russian forces have advanced about 3.5 kilometers here, and all the territory highlighted in red is now under their full control. Additional footage from another point shows the outermost Russian positions, which also came under Ukrainian FPV drone attacks. Nevertheless, all available evidence indicates that this entire area is now completely under Russian control. Thus, it can be said that the Russian army has effectively closed the encirclement ring, trapping the Ukrainian troops who remained in Mirnorad. The fields around Pocrovsk are literally covered with fiber optic lines that transmit signals to FPV drones. It is now nearly impossible to move across this terrain, neither by day nor by night. Every meter is under surveillance and fire, and drone operators from both sides are engaged in constant hunting. Russian FPV operators are working intensively in this direction, targeting anyone attempting to escape the city. For the Ukrainian forces still remaining in Mirnorad, the situation has become hopeless. Everything suggests that a full encirclement will form here in the coming days, and within a few weeks this entire area may fall under the control of the Russian army. Now let's move to the Kupansk direction. Here, serious developments are taking place, and a steady flow of reports is coming in. According to the latest data, Russian forces are expanding their zone of control to the west of the settlement of Kurilivka and attacking Ukrainian army positions near Kupiansk-Vuzlovyi. Such reports appear almost daily, indicating the high intensity of combat. A similar situation is observed near Kucherivka and Petropavlivka. Fierce fighting continues on both sides, though no confirmed changes of the front line have yet been recorded. From the Ukrainian side, there are reports of attacks on Russian positions from the direction of Moskovka and Radkivka. Pro-Ukrainian sources claim localized successes, while pro-Russian sources insist that all assault groups are destroyed on approach by FPV drones. Neither side has provided verified video evidence so far, but numerous reports confirm that some of the heaviest fighting is taking place here. From the Kupiansk area itself, a new video has been released showing Russian forward positions. According to these materials, Russian troops have managed to expand their zone of control by approximately 600 meters. The entire area marked in red has been fully taken under Russian control, cleared, demined, and secured. Everything points to the likelihood that in the coming days, Kupiansk may indeed come fully under the control of Russian forces. Earlier, there were reports of the capture of the settlement of Sadove. At that time, the map was updated provisionally, as confirmations tend to arrive with delay. Today, new visual evidence from that exact area has been received, allowing for the map to be corrected and verified. This indicates that the trend of Russian advances on this axis continues, and the results are becoming increasingly evident. We now move on to the Veliki Burlook direction. Heavy fighting continues there as well. Russian forces are striking Ukrainian positions near Dvorishne and Kolodyazne, and are also attacking defensive lines near Hrihorivka and Ambana. At the same time, Russian units are clearing a so-called pocket between the settlements of Kamenka and Otradne. Yesterday, verified video evidence was received from this area, confirming that the entire sector has come under Russian control. Today, new data confirmed an additional expansion of the controlled zone, an advance of about 300 meters. Thus, the front line here is gradually shifting in favor of Russian forces. Now to the Vauvchansk direction, reports and confirmations continue to come in from there as well. Fierce fighting is ongoing in the area of the Vauvchansky Kutori, where Russian troops are storming Ukrainian defensive positions. A similar situation is reported around Sinelnikova. Previously, we noted heavy fighting on this axis, and now confirmations have arrived showing that Russian control has indeed expanded. The section highlighted on the map has fully come under Russian control. The Ukrainian side has effectively acknowledged the loss of this territory, though in its official briefings it still claims the front line remains unchanged. Yesterday, new footage also appeared confirming Russian advances in adjacent areas. As a result, the entire zone is now under Russian control. Pro-Russian sources are publishing updated maps showing the new frontline positions, while Ukrainian sources continue to display outdated versions where these areas are still marked as Ukrainian-controlled, information that no longer reflects the reality on the ground. Judging by the current pace of developments, Vauvchansk may come fully under Russian control within the next 1 to 2 weeks. On the Lipy axis, Russian positions were attacked near the settlements of Krasne and Lukyantsy. In response, Russian forces struck Ukrainian positions near Lipy, Slobozhanske, and Neskuchne. The front line here remains stable and unchanged. For now, these are all the updates. Thank you all for your attention and support. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay informed about the latest frontline reports. See you soon.